Welcome to my HTML5 crash course for total beginners. So if you want to get into web development, HTML is the first thing you need to learn, and that's what we'll be talking about in this course, and we'll be focusing on HTML5. Now, the only thing you need to know to learn HTML is computer basic knowledge. You don't need any programming experience or coding experience. So I'll be relating with you like somebody that have not written any line of code in this course. So once you have basic computer knowledge, you are good to learn HTML. So what is HTML? The term HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and it's a technology for building the structure of a web page. Now, it is important to know that HTML is not a programming language because most beginners getting into web development think HTML is a programming language. A programming language is something that has to do with logic, and HTML has no form of logic. So it's used to structure a web page, and what that means is that every website you see on the internet has HTML in the foundation, regardless of the programming language running behind the scene. So you can also refer to HTML as the building block of a website. For example of a programming language will be JavaScript, Python, C Sharp, PHP. Something with logic. For example, you can say if this is true, then do this. So that's what a programming language looks like. Now, when we talk about web development, there are two sides of web development. We have front-end web development and back-end web development. Front-end web development deals with everything the user sees and interacts with when they visit a website. And there are three main technologies for building the front end of a website. We have HTML, CSS, which is cascading style sheet, and JavaScript, which is a client-side programming language. So when we talk about backend, we are referring to things that the users can't see, things that goes on behind the scene, like authentication. So when you try to sign into your Facebook account, Facebook will start by authenticating you, and if you pass the authentication process, they're going to give you access to your account. So these are things that goes on behind the scene that you don't see. So stuff like database management, creation of APIs, and other rules that happens behind the scene that are related to backend development. Why should you learn web development or any programming skill? So tech skills are highly demanded and relevant in every sector, and you can get a job with a high-paying job with a skill like web development. Then you can also start a personal business. Most people go for jobs, but I think personal business pays off too. But it's very hard to start a personal business than getting a job. So versions of HTML, we have different versions of HTML. We have HTML, HTML 2.0, HTML 3.2, HTML 4.01, XHTML, which is Extensible Hypertext Markup Language, and HTML5, which is the current version of HTML. So what do you need to write HTML? So to write HTML, you need two things, a browser and a text editor. You don't need internet connection, you just need a browser and a text editor. So examples of browser are Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Mozilla Firefox, Safari, Opera, and Internet Explorer. So you want to stay away from Internet Explorer because it doesn't support most of the current features of HTML, most of the current elements. It's an outdated browser. So you can use any browser, but I will recommend Google Chrome, and that's what we'll be using in this course. And when we talk about text editor, we have text editors like Visual Studio Code, Atom, Notepad++, Sublime Text, and Notepad that comes with the Windows operating system. And you should also stay away from this because other text editors comes with some syntax highlighting and features that makes writing code easy, but Notepad does not come with any of these features, so you want to stay away from it. But for this course, we'll be using Sublime Text. So the purpose of a browser is to view the outcome of our code, while the text editor is to write the code. The structure of HTML. So the HTML structure starts with what we call a doc type declaration, and this doc type declaration tells the browser the document type and the version of HTML. Now, if you look below, I have the doc type declaration for HTML4 and XHTML. And as you can see, they are different and very hard to remember. So HTML5 comes with simple doc type declaration. So this is one of the significant difference between those versions of HTML. They are doc type declaration. Then we have the root element, which is the parent element to every other element. Now, if you notice, you see that the elements are being nested. So we have the HTML element, and then the head element nested inside, the body element nested inside. Then we have the title element nested into the head element. Then we have this h1 tag nested into the body tag. So you might hear me use this word interchangeably throughout this course, element or tag. Now the head tag is responsible for taking the information of the web page, so the title of the page and other stuff like SEO ranking, keywords for SEO ranking. But we're not going to be looking into that for now. We're going to do that in a separate video. So the body takes in the content of the web page. So everything you see in the web page, the body is where they are placed. So this is the structure of a tag, and there are two kinds of tag. So we have the pair tag and unpair tag. Now under the pair tag, we have what we call the opening tag and the closing tag. So the complete structure of a pair tag is the opening tag, the close tag, and the content placed in between the two tags. So this is what the syntax looks like. So you want to familiarize yourself with the syntax. Just left angle bracket, name of the tag, right angle bracket, while the closing tag have the two angle brackets, forward slash and the name of the tag. Then the content is being placed between the tag. While this unpair tag, now this is called unpair tag because it's just a single tag. A pair tag comes in two, that's why it's called a pair. So they are pair. So you can also refer to this unpair tag as a self-closing tag, and this is what the syntax look like. So tags can also take in something called attributes, and attributes are used for adding more information to a to an element or a tag, and can also be used to alter the behavior of an element. So this is the language attribute being set to English. So all the text content of the website simply means that we are writing in English, while for button we are setting disable to true. Now this kind of mistake, you don't do equals to true in HTML. You just put the disable attribute there and to stop the button from functioning. So I made a mistake here. While for unpair tag, we have the input and we have the type attribute telling the browser what type of input is this. So when you use a sign up form, you put in your email, that's an input with type of email. Okay, so we have different type like numbers, text as you can see here, email, checkbox, radio button, and so on. So enough of the slide, guys. The next thing we need to do is to start writing HTML. But to write HTML, you need a text editor, so we have to install a text editor first. So to install Sublime Text, you have to open your browser, then search for Sublime Text, navigate to their website, then download for whatever platform you are using. For me, I'm using Windows, so I'm just going to click download for Windows. I already have it downloaded to save time, so if I go to my downloads, I'll see it right here. So I'm just going to open it. So I'm going to click yes, click next. Now it is important to check this add to Explorer context menu because it will allow you to right click and open Sublime Text directly. Right click on the file and open with Sublime Text. So I'll click next, click install, and it's going to install. So the next thing we need to do is to create an HTML file. So I'll start by creating a folder on my desktop. So I'm going to come to new folder. I'm going to call this folder HTML crash course. Then inside this folder, I'm going to create a text document, and I'm going to call this text.html. Now, when creating an HTML file, you must make sure you have the .html extension after the name of the file. So I'll click this, and this is supposed to show the a browser icon. So it's going to show the default browser you are using. So to do that, I'll come over here, come to options, go to view, and I'm going to click this uncheck these hide extensions for known file types. So uncheck it, click apply, and click OK. So it's going to add .text to the end. So edit the file name and get rid of the .text.txt, and click enter, click yes, and it's going to show the icon of your default browser. So I'll right click, and so I don't have Sublime Text here, probably because I'm using Windows 11. So I'm just going to come over here and open Sublime Text. So yes, I have Sublime Text open here. So I'm going to launch it on my computer, and I'm just going to close this. Then I'll go to file, go to open file, and locate where it is in my computer. So it's in desktop. Inside desktop, we have the HTML crash course folder. Then we have the txt.html, and I'm going to click open. So we are going to start writing HTML, but before we write anything, we have to put down our HTML document. So the HTML document starts with a doc type declaration. So doc type HTML, followed by the root element, which is HTML. So you can say HTML. And when you hit forward slash, it's going to complete the closing tag for you. So this is one benefit of using a text editor like Sublime Text rather than using Notepad. So inside the HTML element, we have the head. So another thing you can do is to type in the name of the element and hit tab, and Sublime Text is going to put down the opening tag and the closing tag for you. So head, inside the head we have title, and I'm going to put the title to be HTML crash course. Then below the head tag we have the body tag. Then I'm just going to leave this like this for now, save, and I'll come over here and open this on my browser. So if I open this, you see what we have in the title is showing at the tab of the browser, at the top of the tab. So whatever you pass in as text content to the title will be what you see at the top of your browser tab. Okay, so I'm just going to split my screen so we can start writing HTML. Okay, so the first thing we need to know about HTML is that there are some tags that are associated with text. There are some tags that are associated with media like images, videos. We have tags for list, forms, and other tags. There are tags that are mainly associated with text in HTML. The examples of those tags are headings, paragraph, the bold tag, italics tag, underline tag, breakline tag, horizontal root tag, S and DEL tag, code tag, and KBD tag. And we're going to see those tags when we jump into Sublime Text, but I just want to go through this slide and mention some of all those tags. So the first tag we're going to look that is associated with text is headings. So I'm just going to put a comment here. So to put a comment with HTML, you can do this. And comments are used to like explain your code. So I'm just going to say headings. So for headings, we have from H1 to H6. So if I say H1 tab, this heading 1. So I'm just going to say heading 1 for the content. If I save, anytime you make any changes, you have to reload your browser to see the changes. So we see heading 1 here, and you see we have this bold text. So if I say H2, which is heading 2, so H2 tab, then heading 2 for the content, save and reload, you see we have heading 2, and you notice the higher the number, the smaller the text. So heading 1 is the biggest, so we have from H1 to H6. So we can do H3, we have H4, we have H5, we have H6, and H6 is the last one, so we don't have H7. So if I save this and reload, you see we have from H1 to H6. So the next um, tag that we're going to look at that is associated with text is called a paragraph. So I'm just going to put a comment here. So paragraph. So the paragraph is represented by P. So if I say P tag and it's a pair tag, so I'm just going to put in some dummy text. So to get some dummy text in Sublime Text, you can do login and say tab. So if I save and reload, get a paragraph. So there are also tags that you can use to manipulate the look of your text, make them bold, make them italics. And the first one we're going to look is the bold tag, which is the B tag. So I'm going to wrap this login ipsum with both tags. So I'm going to say B, and so if I save and reload this, you see that text become bold. So I'm not going to get rid of this B. So if I reload, so the next one we are going to look at is the I tag, which is going to make our any text wrapped inside italics. So I'm going to say I, and if I put angle bracket and hit forward slash, so if I save this and refresh, we're going to see this part of the text in italics. So we also have the U tag, which is used for underlining a text. So I can, I'll just come over here and say U. So U, then I'll come over here and close it. So if I save and reload, you see this part of the text is now being underlined. So we also have what we call the breakline tag, and the breakline tag is just going to force any text after it to start a new line. So let's say we want um, from this place where there's full stop to start a new line, you can simply come here and say B arrow. So this is a self-closing tag, this is an unpaired tag. So if I save and reload, you see it starts a new line after the full stop here. Okay. So we also have the horizontal rule. So I'm just going to put down another paragraph, put in some dummy text with login tab, and in between the paragraph, I'm going to put the H arrow tag. So this tag stands for horizontal rule. So if I save and reload, it's going to put a demarcation, a straight line between the two paragraphs. Okay. So we also have the S and deal tag. So I'm just going to wrap this with S, and it's just going to create a strike through text. So if I say S, and I'm just going to close it here. So if I save this and reload, you see it strikes and put a line across the text. Okay, so you can also do that using the DL tag. Both of them does the same thing. So if I wrap this and save, reload, is going to do the same thing. Okay, so we also have what is called the code tag. Let's say we want to um, put a text that has to do with some computer code. You can wrap that with the code tag. So if you say code tab, I'm just going to put some dummy text. If I save and reload, you see the outcome of the text looks different from what we have in the paragraph. Okay, so we also have the keyboard tag, and this is the last tag that is associated with text we are going to look into. So the keyboard tag is the KBD tag. So KBD tab. Let's say we want to put a like let's say the control keyboard key. So if I say CT arrow and save, reload, you see it looks different. Okay. So that's it for these are the common tags that are associated with text. So I'm just going to come over to my folder here, and I'm going to create another HTML file, and this is going to be container.html. So I want to look at tags that are associated with containers, and we're going to explain what container is. So I'm just going to go to new and click text document. I'm going to say container.html. So I'm going to open this with Sublime Text. So I'm just going to come to my Sublime Text just to save time. Then I'm going to save file, open file, then open this container.html. Okay. So to better explain container, we're just going to look at one slide, and we're going to come back to this file and start um, looking at tags that are associated with container. Containers are elements used to group elements and style elements. And there are two types of container. We have the div container and the span container. So the div container is a generic block level container, and the span container is an inline container. So what's the difference between a block level element and inline element? So a block level element is an element that occupies full width of its container, and it has the display property of block by default. So examples of those elements are div, p tag, headings, form, and list. While example of inline elements are span. And inline element takes the required space, and they have default display property set to inline, so not block. This is just a mistake. So default display property is set to inline. Okay, so we're going to start working on the container.html file, and the first thing we need to do is to put down our doc type declaration. So we have to put down our HTML structure, followed by the HTML tag. Then we have the head tag, we have the title tag, so title tab. Then I'm just going to say container, so container. Then we have the body tag. So the first type of container we want to look at is the div container. So I'm going to put the div container, and like I said, containers are used for grouping elements. So I'll put the div container. Inside the div container, I'm going to put in a paragraph. So a paragraph, I'm just going to say login tab for some dummy text, save, and if I reload my browser, I'm going to get this. Okay. So we also have the span. So I'm just going to put in a span. So span tab. And I'm also going to put a p tag, or let's just say this is a span, just for demonstration purpose. I'll refresh this and I'm going to copy this one more time, save. If I reload, now if I reload, you notice that this is a span, is continuing in that the same line. So that's the difference between block level elements and inline elements. So these two are containers, the div tag and the span tag. They are containers, but one is a block level container while one is an inline container. So if I should inspect this div, so if I inspect, there's the way you inspect your elements. If I just going to close this and bring this down. So if I hover on the div, you see that it's taking full width of the page, taking full width of the page. But if I hover on the span, it's taking only the required space. So block level elements take full width of their space and they force any element coming before them to start a new line, and they also start a new line. So you want to take note of that. But inline elements take only the required space, so they continue in the same line. So the right way to use span is, let's say we want to group some part of this text, for example, and add styling. So I'm not going to wrap this with a span tag. So I'm not going to say span and span. So if I save this, nothing is going to happen. But let me just apply some CSS here. So don't worry about this. So I'm just going to say style, and I'm going to change the background color to, let's just say, yellow. So if I save and reload this, you see that part of the text now has a yellow background. So this is a good use of the span tag. Okay, so that's it for containers. The next thing we are going to look is working with images, so media. So before we look at working with media, so we are going to look at hyperlink. So hyperlink element is an element for linking to other resources or navigating to other web pages. And examples of hyperlinks is the icon tag and the link tag. So we're going to go into Sublime Text and explore those two tags. So for the purpose of demonstrating hyperlink, I've created a file called hyperlink.html in the same folder. So I'm just going to put down my HTML structure to doc type, and I'm just doing this over and over again to drill this into your head. Doc type HTML followed by the HTML tag, followed by the head, the title, and I'm just going to call this hyperlink. Hyperlink, then we have the body. So to demonstrate how hyperlink works, I'm going to put a p tag and put in login. So the first hyperlink tag we are going to look at is the anchor tag. So let's say we want to link, when a user clicks this part of the text, it's going to navigate the user to another page. So let's say like Google. What we are going to do is that we are going to use the anchor tag, which is the a tag, and so we are going to close it. It's a pair tag. Then it has an attribute called href. So you put the href attribute, and inside the href attribute, you are going to specify the link. So I'm going to say Google. Let's just say google.com and save. So if I reload on my browser, you see the text highlighted in blue. The text we are wrapping, part of the text we are wrapping with the anchor tag is highlighted with blue. And if I hover on it, it's showing a click sign. So if I click on it, it's going to supposed to navigate to google.com. So let's just go back and say https to google.com. So if I save and reload this, if I click, it's going to open Google, but notice that it overrides our HTML document. So it opens on top of our document. So I'm just going to go back, and to prevent that from happening, there is another attribute called target. So target, and I'm going to set target to blank. So if I save this and click on it, so I have to refresh. So if I save and refresh, so remember to refresh every time. So if I click on this, it's going to open in a new tab. So you see we still have our HTML document here. So let's say you are creating a website that will link to a different website that's not a page within your website. You can use this target attribute to prevent the user from leaving your website. Okay. So another hyperlink we have is the link tag, and this is actually used to link to external CSS files. So I'm not going to do that, but I just want to show you that this exists, and I'm going to be doing a CSS crash course very soon, and we're going to talk about this tag. So I'm just going to get rid of this for now. Save. So that's all for hyperlinks. The next thing we're going to look at is working with media. There are tags that are associated with media. An example of those tags are image tag, the video tag, the audio tag, iframe tag, and the embed tag. So these tags help us to put visuals into our websites like image, video, audio. Helps us to embed external videos and external visual content on our website. We are going to go into Sublime Text and explore those tags. So for working with media, I created a file called media.html in the same folder, and I moved in some pictures and videos into that folder so I can demonstrate how to work with media in HTML. So I'm just going to remove this, and I'll start by putting my HTML structure. So doc type, and the way you learn is just to do this over and over again, and it becomes part of you. So we have the head, the title, and I'm just going to say media. Then I'll put the body tag, save. So if I reload, we have media at the top of the page now. So the first tag that is associated with media I want to look into is the image tag. So I'm not going to put in a content here and say image. So image. So the image tag is an img tag. So if I say img, and it comes with two attributes. So it's a self-closing tag, it's an unpaired tag. So we can put this slash. So even though you don't put this slash, it's going to work properly, but the right syntax to put this slash at the end. So it has the source attribute and the auth attribute. So the source attribute is going to take in the link to the image you want. So you can put in external you can put in image from external source, or you can put images from your computer. So to put image from your computer, you have to specify the path to that image. So what I'm going to do is that I'll come to here, and I want to put this image. So I'll copy, I'll click, and I'll click copy as part. Then I'm just going to minimize this and paste the part to this. I'm going to paste the part, and you want to make sure you have just, so I'll paste the part. So this is how it looks. You paste it between the double quotes. So if I save this and reload, we're going to have this image here, and as you can see, it's very big, so the scroll bar of the website is showing. So the auth attribute is used to add name to the image, and it also improves SEO ranking. So let's say the name of this image is I'm just going to call this sky. Let's just say sky. I don't know what to call it. So sky, and save. It's not going to show, but if we get rid of the image source and save, then reload, since we did not specify a source, it's going to show this um, icon, which simply means that the image source is missing, and it's going to show whatever name we pass in the auth attributes. So I'm just going to come back and remove this, save, reload. So we can also change the width of an image. So there's an attribute called width. So I'm just going to set this to 400. Then we can also change the height. So height 400, save. So if I reload, you see this is now smaller. So let's do like 200 for the height. If I reload, you see this better. Okay, so let's just leave it like this. So we can also bring in image from external source. So I'm just going to put in the image tag again. Then I'm going to go to Unsplash. So I'm going to say Unsplash. So I'll go to Unsplash, which is a site where you can get free photos. So I'm just going to, so let's just take this one. I'll click on it, and I'll copy the image address. So I'll copy the image address. Then I'm just going to paste it as the source. So paste. So you want to, then for the auth, I'm just going to say Unsplash. So Unsplash, save. So if I reload, we are going to get this image from Unsplash, and we can apply the same attribute. So we can add the width attribute and change this to like 200 pixels. So if I reload, it's going to make this smaller. So you can also add the height attribute. So the next tag that is associated with media that we want to look into is video. So I'm not going to put in the comment here, say video. So the video tag, you just do video to video and tab. So it's going to give us the video tag, and it's a pair tag. So we are going to specify the source of the video. So I'm just going to come over here again and copy the part. So we have this intro video. This is my YouTube intro. So I'm just going to copy the part and paste it. So if I, so let's just paste it. So it comes with quote. So if I save and reload, you see we have the video here. Now we also have the width attribute. So I'm going to say width, and I'm going to change this to 600. If I reload, so you see it's now smaller. And we also have the height attribute, but I'm just going to leave only width. So I'm just going to make this 400. So it contains, okay. So as you can see, we cannot play this video, we cannot do anything. That's because we're supposed to add an attribute called control. So we're going to add the control attribute. So I'm going to say controls, save. If I reload, you see we are going to see some controls here. So if I play, So there are other attributes. So we have other attributes like autoplay. So if I save and reload, this is supposed to play automatically, but most browsers requires you to mute the video first before autoplay works. So there's an attribute called muted. So if I save and reload, you see it plays automatically, but it mutes from the beginning. Okay, so I'm also going to add an attribute called loop. And what this attribute does is that it's just going to make the video loop over and over again. So it's just going to keep on looping. So I'm just going to remove this, save and reload, but we have the loop attribute. But I'm just going to put it for reference purpose, and I'll just copy this and comment it just so you have it. So I'll paste and get rid of the loop attribute to reload. And I also want to get rid of this autoplay and mute attributes. So I'll just leave only the controls. So another attribute we have is the type. So we can say type, and you can specify the MIME type. So MIME type simply means the media type. Okay, so this is a video. So we can say video slash MP4, because this is an MP4 video. So let's say we have an AVI video. We can say video dot slash AVI. So but this is an MP4 video. Then we can also include video with you can also put more than one video inside the video tag. So let's say um, we are creating a video website, and some browsers might not support this type of video. So MP4 video, they support AVI video. What we can do is that, so I'm just going to copy this. I'll copy it, and instead of putting the source attribute here, I'm just going to get rid of this. So let's just get rid of everything, just add only the controls. And what we can do is that in between the video, I can say source. So we have a source a source tag, and it comes with the source attribute and the type attribute. So I'm just going to copy this part for the source, paste, then the type is going to be video slash mp4. I'm just going to comment this one out. Then at the top here, I'm just going to put a comment and say um, multiple video source and type. So because this actually is when you have more than, when you want to put more than one type of video file. So let's say we want to have another, so I'm just going to copy the source attribute and paste it one more time. So let's say we have a video that is an AVI. So this is an AVI video, and save. So if I come to the browser is going to pick the one that is compatible with it. So for our case, it's going to pick MP4 because Chrome supports MP4. So if I play, so let's just save, reload. So I want to add the width. So width, I'm just going to add width to 400 to make it smaller. So if I reload, so if I play, you see the video is still going to play, but we have more than one type of video here. So the browser is going to choose the one that is compatible with it. So we also have an attribute called poster. So we can say poster This is an attribute, so it should be here. So we can say poster, and we can set the poster to an image. So I'm going to come over here and copy this, copy as part, and I'm going to put it. So let's get rid of one of the quotes. So if I save this and reload, it's going to use this image as the poster, but when I play, the original video is going to play. Okay, so I think this is all for video. So the next element we are going to look at that is associated with media is audio. So I'm just going to put in a comment here and say audio. And the audio tag is kind of similar to the video tag. So I'm just going to say audio, then tab. So we're going to specify the source. So I'm just going to come over here and copy as part. So I have this song by Alicia Keys. So if I save and reload, if I save and reload, we're supposed to get another. So I'm just going to comment these files out. So we have space, we have some space here. So yeah. Then we have to add the controls. So if I reload, yeah, so you see the audio. So if I click play, so it's going to play. So we also have almost the same attribute. So we have autoplay. If I reload, but just like the video, we have to add muted. So if I reload, so I think that does not work for audio. So I'm just going to. So most browsers restrict autoplay. So I'm just going to save this, reload, and play. So this is what this just it for the audio tag. There's no much much attributes or much stuff to do with the audio tags. I'm just going to pause this. So the next tag we want to look at is the iframe tag. So I'm just going to put in a comment here and say iframe. Now the iframe tag is used for embedding external content to our website, so like videos, map, external HTML pages. But some sites restrict the iframe tag. So take for example for YouTube, there are some things you have to add to the iframe to be able to embed YouTube videos. So let's try it. So iframe tab, and you are going to put the source of the content. So I'm just going to go to YouTube. So YouTube, let's just wait for this to load, and I'm just going to grab any random video. So I'll just grab any video. So this is a video I did auto typing text with JavaScript. So you might want to check some of my video at my project based video. So I'm just going to copy. I'll right click on video and click copy video URL. So I'll pause this. Then for the source, I'm going to paste this and save. So if I come over here and reload, you see it says www.youtube.com refused to connect. That's because we had to add some stuff to this. So to make it work for YouTube, it might be different for other platforms. So to make it work, I'm going to say youtube.com. Then before the video ID, we are going to add um, embed and save. So if I reload, you see it's going to show this video. So if I click play, it's going to start playing. So let's say we want to make this full screen. If I click, it says full screen is unavailable. So what we can do is that we can add an attribute that says allow full screen. So if I save and reload, so if I play it this time, you see it's now allow full screen. Okay, so I'm just going to pause this. So this is what you can use iframe for. So for this frame border, I'm just going to put 6. So if I reload, you see it add some frame to the border of the video. So if I increase this to, like, let's just say 20 to make it bigger, you see the frame is, I think, but you can see the frame. Okay, so that's what the frame border is used for. Okay, so another one we want to look at is, let's try embedding a web page. So I'm just going to copy this, get rid of the source, and let's try to put on splash. So if I save this and paste this, okay, if I reload, says on splash.com refuses to connect. So like I said, some platform restricts this iframe, so you have to add some. If you want to embed their page, you have to add some attributes to it. Okay, I'm just going to get rid of this, but I just want to show you that you can do that. Then the next one we want to look at is the embed. So we have a, I'm just going to put a comment here. So we have another tag called embed, and it's used for embedding external video to your website, kind of similar to the iframe tag, but you can do more with the iframe tag. So I'm just going to say embed tag. So it comes with source and type. So let's say we are embedding a video, and it's going to be an mp4 video. And so let's try embedding the same video. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it. If I come over here and reload, so you see we have 2 videos here now. So that's what the embed tag is used for. I think you can also embed like images. So I'll copy this and paste. So I'm just going to space this. So this is going to be image slash JPEG for the MIME type. So JPEG, and we're just going to put this so I'm just going to copy this on splash image one more time. So copy address, and I'm going to paste it as the source. So if I save, reload, so you see we have the image here again. So alright guys, these are some of the tags that you can use to work with media when it comes to HTML. So the next thing we are going to look at is list. So lists are used for creating list item on the web page. So just like the name list. So we have 3 types of list. We have ordered list, we have unordered list, and we have definition list. So we're going to go into Sublime Text and explore this list. So we are going to look at list, and I created a new HTML file for it. So we start by putting down the HTML structure. So HTML head, the title, and this is going to be list. Then the body. If I save and reload, we get list at the top. So the first type of list we want to look at is unordered list. So I'm going to put in a comment here and say unordered list. So to create an unordered list, you put the UL tag. So there's a tag called UL, which is unordered list. And inside the unordered list, we are going to have list items. So to put in a list item, use the li tag. So let's say we are creating list of food. So we have rice. I'm just going to copy this and paste 5 times. So we have rice, beans, we have bread, we have potatoes, then we have let's just say let's just say fried eggs. So fried eggs. So if I save and reload, you see this is what we call an unordered list. So an unordered list comes with bullet points at the beginning of the text. So we have the bullet point. So we have ordered list. So ordered list. And to create an ordered list, we have to put the OL tag. So OL for ordered list. And we're also going to put the list items. So I'm just going to copy this LIs I have here and paste inside here. So if I reload, you see we have the same thing, but the difference is that the ordered list uses number. So it's going to number it from one down, from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because we have 5 list items. Okay. So the next list we want to look at is the definition list. I just want to put this one, but you'll not be using it that much. So definition list, and this list is used for putting a list of terms you want to define. So to use the definition list, you are going to call the DL. So DL for definition list. Then inside the DL, we are going to have what we call DT, which is the definition term. So let's say HTML, for example. So HTML, the definition term. We are going to put the definition description, which is DD. So HTML stands for hypertext markup language. So if I save and reload, this is what it looks like. So I'm going to copy this 2 more times. So we're going to do for CSS. So CSS is cascading style sheet. So if I save and reload, we have CSS cascading style sheet. And I'm just going to change the last one to JS, which is JavaScript. save, and reload. So this is what a definition list look like. So it's used for defining list of terms. That's why it's called a definition list. So DT stands for definition terms. DD stands for definition description. Okay. So that's all for list, guys. The next thing we are going to, the next set of tags we are going to look at is form. So form is an element used for collecting inputs or information from a user, and there are different types of input in a form. So we have the text input, the email input, data time input, checkbox input, radio input, submit input. Then we also have a text area input, and we are going to look at all that in Sublime Text. All right, so we're going to start working with form, and for that purpose, I created an HTML file called form.html. The reason why I'm creating different files is just to keep things organized, and I already have it opened on my browser. I have my HTML structure here already. So to create a form, you can create a form with HTML, but to make the form functional, you actually need a programming language to do that. So you can use HTML to build the structure of the form, but to make it functional, you actually need a programming language like PHP or Python or even JavaScript to make it functional. So I'm just going to create a form. So to create a form, I'm just going to put the form tag, and it comes with two attributes. So we have the action and method. So for method, we have get, and we also have post to post. So the only thing I can tell you between get and post is that you use post when sending data to a server because post is more secure, and you use get for, like, let's say a search bar, or something that that's not secure, that's not exposing any important data. So you use get for such things. Why for the action is going to connect to a server, so you pass in the link to a server. Yes, so but that's just kind of advanced, so I'm just going to leave this to empty, but I just want to point out to this. Okay, so inside the form we're going to have a label, and the label is to describe the purpose of the input. So let's say we have first name, for example. So first name. So we can put an input here, and this input is going to be a type of text. Okay, so we can say can give it a placeholder. So there's a placeholder attribute. I'm going to say first name. So first name. So if I save and reload, this is what we get. So once we click and type, the placeholder we passed in is going to go off. Okay. So we can also disable an input. So we have disable. If I save this and reload, this input is not going to be functional anymore. So I'm just going to remove this. So we also have properties like max length. So max length, I'm going to set max length to 5. So if I save this and reload, I'll not be able to put in more than 5 letters. So if I say my, if I try to put in my care, when it gets to 5, it's not going to take more than 5. Okay. So we also have mean length. So let's say the max length is 20, and let's say the mean length is 5. So if I try to submit this form, so for that purpose, I'm just going to put an input with the type of submit. So submit and reload. So if I put 5 letters here, so let's just say I put anything less than 5 letters. So let's just say my name, Levi, and try to submit. It's going to say that please lengthen this text to 5 characters because we set the mean length to 5. Okay. So I'm just going to put a break line tag here to push this to the next line because by default inputs are inline elements. So if I save and reload, I'm going to come over to the next line. So I also want another input. So let's just say label, and let's say so it also has a for attribute. So the for attribute is actually used for connecting the label to the input. So if I say for um, first name, let's just say first name, then what I can do is to pass in an ID. So you can pass ID and classes to elements. So if I pass an ID here and put the same value pass into the four attributes for the ID, so first name, save. If I reload, anytime I click the label, it's going to focus on the input. So that's the purpose for the four attributes. So we also have name. We can also name our inputs. Let's say this for first name. So because if we are submitting this to a server, we actually need a name to identify it. So this for first name. Okay. Then let's say this one is for last name. I'm just going to pass in last name here. Then I'm just going to say last name. Then I'm going to put the input. So input text name is going to be last name. So for last name, I'm just going to space this, make this one capital letter, and make this one capital letter too. So last name. So you can do the same thing. You can pass an ID and say last name. And I'm just going to add a break line tag to push to the next line. So if I save, reload, we have first name, last name. If I click, it's going to focus on it because of this attribute, because of the four attributes and the ID passing. So the four attributes and the ID must correspond. Okay. Then we also have email. So let's say label, and it's going to be for email, and I'm going to say input. It's going to be a type of email, and let's give it a placeholder. So we have placeholder of email. I'm just also going to add a placeholder to this one. Let's just say placeholder last name. The placeholder email. What you can do, you can give this an ID of email, and you can also say name email. If I save, reload, we are going to have email. So I'm just going to put BRO tag to push to the next line. So if I reload, we have email, and there's another attribute. You can set an input field to required. So if you say required, if I try to submit this form, I'm just going to save and reload. If I try to submit this form without filling any required field, the form is not going to submit. Okay, so we can add required to, let's say, the last name required. Then for the first name, you can also add required. If I save and reload, if I click, going to say please fill out this piece. So let's say I fill out this one. Let me just say Sarah. So let's just say Sarah. Then for the last name, let's just say Paul. Then let's leave the email blank and try to submit. It's going to say fill it because it's required. So you must fill every required field. Okay. Then we also have number. I'm not going to put a label and I'm not going to say let's say age. So age. I'm not going to pass in age here. And for age we can pass in an input with the type of number. So number, save. I'm going to put a breakline tag. So if I reload, we have age, so we can increase and we can decrease. So there is, I'm not going to put the rest attributes because we already have them here. So for number, we can do max, let's say max 10. So if I do that, I'm just going to reload. If I increase to 10, it's going to stop. So we can also do um, mean. So mean can be 5. So if I reload and I increase to 4, let's say we put Sarah, Paul, let's just say test at gmail.com because this has to be a complete email. If not, it's not going to work. And I try to submit. So I guess that works, but we have max and min. So the minimum number. Okay, so you see it starts at 5. Okay, so I think that's how that works. I don't normally use. So if it starts at 5, okay. So if you put mean, it's going to start at that number. So if I change this to 4 and save, let's just reload. It's going to start from 4. Okay, all right. So we also have date and time. I'm just going to put in a label and let's just say date. I'm just going to say date. So I'm going to put an input with the type of, let's say, date. So if I save and reload, I'm going to have an input with this calendar. Okay. So I'm just going to put in a breakline tag here. So we also have time. I'm going to say label time. Yes, time. And have an input to the type of so time. If I save this and reload, we have time and select time. So we also have going to put a breakline tag here. We also have radio button. So let's just say gender. I'm just going to put a label here. So a label for gender. And I'm going to put an input with the type of radio. Now the way radio button works, you can only pick one radio button. So you can connect the radio buttons together. So I'm going to say name, gender. So if I pass in, so let's just say gender at the top, then I'm going to have another label there. So label and this is going to be, I'm just going to get rid of the four attributes, and this is going to be like um mail. So let's just say mail. If I save and reload, I'm going to have this radio button. I'm just going to put in a breakline tag here, so BRO, and I'm going to copy this. So I'm going to pass in gender here. Let's just say gender, save, and I'm going to copy this, save, and this is going to be female. This should be capital letter, male, and I'm just going to tab this over to save. If I reload to have male, female, and we can only select one. So to connect the radio buttons, you have to pass in the same name for each of them. Okay. So we also have checkbox to have input with the type of checkbox to checkbox. And I'm going to put the label below. Let's just say um let's say we are creating a membership form. So let's say um select basic. Let's just say this is basic. Or a membership form, you have to choose one thing. So let's say we are creating a vote for language. So let's just say like HTML. Then I'm going to do under checkbox. So we're going to have a name here. Name, you can say language. Then I'm going to have another name here as an attribute and have language. I'm just going to change this to CSS. So I'll copy this one more, paste, and I'm just going to put a breakline tag here. If I save and reload, we have HTML, CSS, so we can choose more than one. I want to change this to JavaScript, JS, reload, so we can pick more than one. So that's the difference between text box and checkbox and radio button. So lastly, we have text area. So we also have text area, and the text area will have names. So let's say this message. Let's say user wants to send a message. So I'm going to save this and reload. So the width of this thing, you can actually resize it, and we can stop this function with CSS. So can make it not to be resizable with CSS, but we're not getting to CSS for now. So we can adjust the columns. Let's say column to be 10. If I save and reload, you see it's now small, so 10 columns. So I'm just going to bring it back to 30. To 30, then you can change the rows to, let's just increase the row to 30 to save and reload. So you see this now more bigger. So I'm just going to leave this as 10. If I reload, we get the normal size. Okay. So we also have button. So we can also use a button to submit. We're going to put BR there. So we can also use a button to submit a form. So I can say button, and I can just say submit. So if I reload, If you use a button within a form, it's going to submit the form. So if when we try to submit, it asks us to fill the required field. But we can also give this a type of button. So if we give it a type of button, it's just going to act like a normal button. So I have to save this and reload. So if I try, it's going to act like a normal button. You can also give it a type of submit, which is going to have by default inside the form. So if I click, so I'm just going to comment this out. I just want to show you that you can do that. So we also have value for the input. So let's say we want this to be submit submit form instead of submit. So if I click and reload, get submit form, whatever we pass into the value will appear here. Okay, so this is all for working with forms. So you can use this to build the structure of a form, but to make the form functional, you have to use a programming language to make it functional. So the next thing we are going to talk about is tables. So tables are used for arranging tabular data on a web page. So you want to put a tabular data in a web page, you use table for displaying such data. The table is made up of the head, body, rows, and column. The head takes the headings of the table, while the body takes the content of the table, and we are going to see that in Sublime Text shortly. So we are going to start working with table, and I already have my HTML structure here, and I created a separate file for it. So table is used for displaying tabular data on a web page. So to create a table, we have a table tag, and like I said, the table is made up of the head and body. So we are going to put a table row. It's also made up of row and column. The table row. Inside the table row, we are going to have the table head. So TH for table head. And let's say we are creating um, an attendance list, a class attendance list. Let's say name, then another heading TH is going to be attendance. Then we're also going to have another T arrow, so another table row. Then we're going to have some TD. So this is like the content, the table data. So we're going to put so let's say name Mike here, let's just say Mike. And for attendance, we are going to say absent. So Mike was absent. So if I save this and reload, we get this table, and this is not looking good because there's no CSS. So HTML without CSS is very boring. I'm just going to copy this. So if you want to create another row, so when we talk about table, horizontally is row while vertically is column. Okay, so to create another row, I'm just going to paste this, and let's say this is Paul, and let's say Paul was present, then can do another one. Let's just say Joe, and Joe was absent. So if I save this and reload, we get Paul, Mike, Paul, Joe, and we get their attendance. So this is a good example of using table. So I'm just going to create another table. So there's what we call TH and T body, and this is used for grouping the head and body of table. So let's say TH and T head. So all the headings are going to go into here. So let's say table row. So TH. I'm just going to use space the TH. Let's say we are creating a table for um, days of the let's just say timetable. So yeah, a timetable. So I'm going to say this is the subject, so school timetable. This is the subject, and this is the let's say this is the day. So we're going to have the day first, the days, and we're going to do under th subject. I'm just going to reload to see if I'm getting this right. I'm just going to, I want this to come down a bit. So let's do break line to give it space. So this subject, we're going to have Monday. Yeah, this correct. Okay. So we're going to have the T body and everything about this the is going to come into here. So the table body, let's say T arrow. So we can also put heading inside the table body. So let's say the first day, so th Monday. So Monday, let's say we have we are going to have some td. Let's say we have math. I'm just going to copy this like 4 times more. Let's say we have math, we have chemistry, have art, we have CS, which is computer science, then we have physics. So if I save this and reload, um, so you see we have days, then we have Monday. So this Monday is actually a heading, so signifying that this and heading to this um, subject we have here. Okay, so you can create something like this with table. Then we can also make this subject pertain fully to um, all the subject, because you see it's not um, arranging well. So what you can do is that you can come to this th over your subject. So you can say column span, and you can say span 4. Okay, so if you say span 4 and reload, so it's going to span across 4 columns. So math, chemistry, art, CS, and physics. Let's just do span 5. Mm, actually 5, yes. This is pertaining to this now. So we also have I'm just going to copy this one more time. Let's say we have Tuesday, and for Tuesday we have English, we have English, we have let's say we have animation, and I'm just going to leave this like this. So if I save, okay. We also have what is called caption. So the caption is used for defining the title of a table. If I say caption, I'm just going to call this time table. So this is not a complete timetable. We're supposed to have the time. So the time. So let's just say this is time rather. So I'm just going to leave this like this, but I just want to give you the idea of what you can use table to do. So I'm just going to save this. So you see the caption here. Okay. So we can also do code group. There's what we call code group, and it's used for grouping a table. So I'm just going to copy this one more time so I can use it to demonstrate, yeah, to demonstrate this. I'm going to add so let's just put age here. So let's just say th age, and let's add age. So Mike is 15, So Paul is 17 and Joe is 18. If I save and reload, we have age. So what the call group does, so there's a tag called call group, column group. It allows you to group columns. So if I pass in the column tag inside and I say span 2, for example, if I save, nothing is going to happen. Let's say we want to group two columns and style it. I'm just going to add CSS for just this purpose. So I'm going to say style and I'm going to set the background color to red. So if I save this and reload, it's going to change, going to span two columns. So one, two is grouping this two column and we're styling it. So if I change this to one, so you can use this code group to group columns and apply styling to it. Okay. Um, so we also have what we call scope. So we can say scope. So scope is used within a heading. So we can say scope, and passing row. So what this means is that we are telling the browser that this heading is pertaining to this row. So this row we have here, this Monday, Tuesday row. So we can also say scope. So actually this column actually, okay. Oh yeah, row. So it's pertaining to this row. So this row we have here. Okay. Then when we set this one to, like, let's say col, simply means it's pertaining to the column, the subject. So vertically. So go is horizontal while column is vertically. Okay. So I think that's all for table. You have to do some little practice and everything is going to be familiar with you. Okay. So the next thing we are going to look at is HTML5 semantics tag. So HTML semantics tag are self-explanatory tags, and the reason why they are called self-explanatory tags is because they communicate their meaning to the browser and other developers. So examples of semantics tag are header, footer, main, article, nav, and section, and aside. So this is the structure of a web page using HTML5 semantics tag. So we have the header over here. We have the main content of the website, and these are some articles inside the website. So the sidebar is going to be the aside, and we have the footer, which is going to take stuff like copyright and all that. Okay. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to go into Sublime Text and we're going to create a simple blog page. So we're going to look at HTML semantics tag now, and we're going to create a blog page to demonstrate that. So I'm just going to put down my HTML structure. So we have HTML, we have head, title. I'm just going to say blog, then I'm going to put down the body. So for inside the body, I'm going to start with the header. So I'm just going to put a comment here. So header. So the header is used to represent the header of a web page. So let's take for example, if you go to Sublime Text website, I'm just going to make this bigger for this purpose. We have the header, and sometimes as you can see, the navigation, so the nav tag is being positioned inside the header. So this place like this is like the header. Okay. So I'm just going to make this smaller. So we have the header, and I'm just going to say my blog, save. So I'll come over here and reload. Okay. So we also have navigation, which is the nav tag, and it's used to like hold navigation to every page we have in the website. We can use the navigation to link to those pages. So if I want to go to another page in this website, for example, their support page, I'm going to click on this support link on the navigation. So it allows you to navigate to other pages in the website. So that's what the nav tag is used for. So nav, and inside the navigation, we're going to have a list. So I'm just going to use another list. Is commonly used with nav tag. You can choose to use other list, but um, I've never seen anybody using other list, so you can just use another list. What we normally use. So li, I'm just going to say home. So home li. So contact. So we also have li about. I'm just going to save and reload. So we also have the main tag. So I'm just going to put main. Now the main tag is used to represent the main content of a website. So I'm just going to use this as an example again. So I'll just make this bigger. So this is the header and the nav at the top. So this is going to be the main content of the website. And this website does not have any sidebar. So not all websites have sidebar. I'm just going to make this. So the main content of the website. So let's say so for our case, we are creating a blog page. So our blog is going to go into this main tag. So we also have what we call section, and it's used to like section our page to different sections. So I'm just going to, let's say this is the, for example, this is the blog section, the post section. So let's say we have another section for images, for example. Um, so we also have the article tag, so article, and this article is going to be like each post. So each post is going to be an article. So the article tag is used to represent standalone content on the website. So content that makes sense on their own if you pull them out of the website are presented with the article tag. So let's take Facebook post for example. Each post is actually an article because they can stand alone on their own. They make sense on their own. So I'm going to say H1. This is going to be post one. So post one. Then I'm just going to have a P tag here and say login tab. So if I save and reload, we have post one. So I'm just going to fold this, copy and paste. So we have post two. So we also have the a side tag. So I'm just going to put it here and comment it out. So we have a side, and this is used for putting in this content of the sidebar. So if you are going to have a sidebar on your website, you are going to use this semantics tag. And one of the importance of using semantics tag is that it allows screen readers to access your site more effectively. So screen readers are software that helps people with impaired vision and some kind of disability to access the internet. So using semantics tag makes your website more accessible to screen readers. If not for that purpose, if you use let's say you use a div tag instead of article, it's still going to come at the same. There's not going to be any changes visually, but for the purpose of semantic meaning, it's good to use semantic tag. Okay, so there are semantic tags that are associated with text, and I did not include it in the text section because I want to put it among the semantic tag. Okay, so example of a tag like that is the block quote. So block quote, and the block quote tag is used to represent quotation from another source. Let's say we have this quote by Steve Jobs that says stay hungry, stay hungry, stay foolish. So this is a quote from, let's say, an inspirational site. So it has an attribute called site. So this site is going to take in the link to this quote. So I'm just going to put https to google.com to google.com. So if I save and reload, okay, it's going to take in the link. Okay, then we also have site. So we can put to site. So we have the site tag, and the site tag is actually used to cite inspirational content or creative content of somebody. So let's say this quote is a quote by Steve Jobs. So we're going to pass Steve Jobs here, save and reload. So Steve Jobs, so stay hungry, stay free. I'm just going to put a break line tag here. So stay hungry, stay free. Okay. So we also have footer. So we have the footer. So footer is another. So I also want to point out to before I talk about footer. So we also have I'm going to come to the paragraph. We also have tags like strong. So there's a tag called strong, and there's also a semantics tag. So I'm just going to wrap this text with strong. So strong. So if I save this and reload, you see it makes the text bold, just like the B tag, the bold tag. But the difference is that the strong tag is a semantic tag, so it's conveying a semantic meaning to the browser. So it's used to wrap text that convey importance. So you are trying to tell the screen reader that this text here is very important. So that's what the strong tag is used for. So we also have the EM tag, which is used for emphasis. EM. So if I save and reload, so it's just telling the browser to like for screen readers to place more emphasis on this text. So it's conveying emphasis. Okay. Then we also have the pre-tag. So there's a tag called pre-tag. I'm just going to copy this article, copy open, paste. Okay. So inside the article, I'm going to put in a pre-tag. So this pre-tag is called pre-formatted tag, and what this does is that it's going to keep the formatting of your text. So to demonstrate that, I'm just going to put in some dummy text here. So if I save and reload, so you see, because we're having some space here, so it keeps the format of your text. Let's say I'm going to put some space here in between and save and reload. It's going to put that space there. It's going to keep the format we have here. But if we change this to paragraph, to the p tag, for example, save and reload, it's not going to preserve the text format we have here. So the pre tag is used for preserving this text format. Okay, so if I reload, so let's say for example we get rid of all this space we have here, save and reload. It gets to the end now. So we also have the footer. The footer, and the footer takes in content like so let's see the footer of this website. We see stuff like um so yes, we see stuff like copyright. So this where stuff like this is being placed. So other stuff can be placed there like let's say, but the footer is mainly used for stuff like copyright, and I don't know how to explain this right now. So you see, let's say social media, it depends on how you choose to style your website actually, but one of the stuff that is being placed in the footer. So the footer is like the lower section of your website is mostly the copyright. So I can't say because they have this follow button here is placed on the footer. Another web designer can decide to put this at the header. So but footer is always the copyright is always being placed at the footer. So I'm going to put a small tag. So there's a tag called small and it's actually used mainly used in the footer. So you can say um, and copy, then copyright. So this is just going to give us this copyright symbol. So you can say copyright, copyright blog 2023. Save. So I'm just going to come over here. If I reload, we get the copyright here. So alright guys, to wrap things up, I'm just going to add some CSS to this, but don't worry about that. Don't bother about learning it. We are going to discuss CSS in another course. I'm going to say style, and I'm just going to change the background color to, let's just do black, and I want the text to be white. Text to color white, to make the text white. Then also want the text to be in center, so text align center. So if I save this and reload, see, so I'm just going to add some padding. So padding, I'm going to do 5 rem, too big, so let's just do 3. Okay, so for the navigation, I'm just going to say so I'm going to get rid of the list style. So I'm going to say style, list style, list style. Tired of typing, so I'm going to set this to none. So if I do that, it's going to get rid of the bullet points. So what I can also do, I'm just going to position everything horizontally. So I'm going to say display flex, and I'm just going to add a gap of 2 and I'm just going to position everything in the center. Okay, so this like our navigation, for example, and we're supposed to like wrap this with an anchor tag if we want to link it to like somewhere in the page. Okay, so for our article, I'm just going to leave it like this. Okay, so I'm just going to copy the same styling I have here for the header, and I'll paste it on the footer. If I reload, so I'm supposed to place this footer outside the section, outside the main content, because it's not part of our main content. Okay, if I reload, so this is how you can use HTML semantics tags. Alright guys, so this is the end of this course. So if you like it, I want you to share with your friends, leave a like, do well to subscribe to this channel, and I also want you to leave your thoughts about this video in the comment section. Thank you.